The turkey vulture like Fester, and the black vulture, which is a little bit smaller, has a characteristic black head. But Fester is going to be doing some flight, so I'm going to ask that everyone in the audience stay nice and seated as he flies around. These are very large birds. They can have wingspans up to around 5.5 to 6 feet wide, and very broad wings as well, and that allows them to soar. And so they'll be soaring high in the sky, smelling for their next meal. So my background is in zoo science, actually. So before I was a graduate student, I was a zookeeper for about 4 years, working in animal care and outreach education and animal training. And then I decided I wanted to go back to school to contribute more to the research side of wildlife conservation. And birds are kind of my thing. They're my favorite group of animals. So I knew I wanted to study birds no matter what I did. And so thankfully here at Georgia Southern, Elizabeth Hunter, who is my current advisor, studies questions that matter to me, that I care a lot about, particularly how we can help birds adapt in a changing environment, in a quickly changing world because of climate change in particular. So now I study a little bird called the McGillivray's seaside sparrow, which nests out here in the coastal marshes of Georgia, North and South Carolina, and Florida. And I'm specifically looking at nest predation. So I have cameras out in the marsh monitoring nests. I have camera traps that are looking at predators to kind of get an understanding of how nest predation varies across their breeding landscape. Poor chicks. I think the most fascinating part about a bird's life is migration. So not all birds are migratory, but the ones that are making incredible journeys, sometimes from the bottom of South America all the way up to the top of North America, sometimes pole to pole, traveling miles and encountering all kinds of threats that we can't even imagine. You know what I mean? You'd have to be studying it to know exactly how critical those threats can be. And so many of them survive it, and it seems miraculous every time, every season. You got spring coming and you have all kinds of migrants coming up from South America here in North America. And so you get to see so many different species and just appreciate how much of a journey they've gone on. I remember growing up in all of my classes and in my textbooks and in the presentations I saw, whenever I saw a scientist, they were always white. They were always usually white men as well. And it wasn't even until recently that I started seeing people of color and Black people represented in textbooks and represented in presentations about scientists. And that actually makes a difference for me as a scientist. I'm already, in the field, and it makes a difference for me. So I would encourage people to, even when you're depicting images to students, to try and find as many diverse faces as you can that represent the diversity of the room, the class that you're teaching. For far too long, Black people in the United States have been shown that outdoor exploration activities such as birding are not for us. Whether it be because of the way the media chooses to present who is the outdoorsy type, or the racism experienced by Black people when we do explore the outdoors, as we saw recently in Central Park. Well, we've decided to change that narrative. A group of Black birders, explorers, and scientists got together to start the first ever Black Birders Week, which will start this Sunday, May 31st.
Your birding obviously, has drew your attention to that horrific incident in Central Park earlier this year. Christian Cooper was abused there, and your response was to do something truly inspirational. So tell us about how you felt when you first saw that recording of that racial abuse, and then what happened in terms of developing Black Birders Week.
Yeah, so when I saw that video, it essentially reminded me of the experience of Black people anywhere. There is this essentially constant reminder that you have to not threaten the comfort of white people in your space, or else something like the police can be weaponized against you. And in the United States, we've seen repeatedly that use of force is much greater against Black bodies, against Black people. And so when I saw that video, I immediately imagined the way that it could have ended, and the way that it's ended for many, especially Black men's lives. And we saw later that day ended a Black man's life. And so my visceral reaction was like relief that it didn't get worse, but it was very familiar to see that. And so because Christian is a person that many of us in my friend group, my birding friend group, know of, and some of us know him personally, we were enraged because now it was kind of hitting close to home. So I have a group of friends. My friend Jason Ward, who's a birder here in the U.S., started a group chat of just Black people who enjoy nature and the outdoors. And so one of the women in the group was like, you know what, we need to do something to celebrate Black birders and bring awareness to the experience of Black birders. And it kind of went from there. And within literally 48 hours, we had crafted an entire week of like online engagement and celebration and conversation to establish and to accomplish exactly what we wanted to do. And, you know, we had 6 days of engagement around the country and around the world, Black people kind of celebrating Blackness in the outdoors, and people who aren't Black being willing to engage in conversation about what our experience has been. And so it was absolutely an honor and so encouraging to do.
And it was picked up widely. That's the really great thing. It was all over the United States media. You did brilliantly there. But I have to tell you, here in the UK, it was all over our social media too. It was inspirational for so many people.
Wow. And every time I heard someone talk about their experience from somewhere that wasn't a place that I'd been and somewhere outside of the US, I was reminded of how important it is that Black people find community in these spaces.
What's up, Jungle Squad? It's your boy Jungle Jordan back with another Minute Monday, but today is very extra special. We have a very special guest. Let's get it.
What's good, everybody? My name is Corina Newsome, and I study a little bird called the McGillivray's seaside sparrow. So let's talk a little bit about them. These birds live on the coasts of North and South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, and they specifically live in the tidal salt marshes. Now, these sparrows have some really cool adaptations that allow them to survive in a salt marsh. For example, their eggs can survive for 30 minutes underwater, which is important because sometimes their nests will flood in a tidal environment. And 2, they can drink salt water without ever getting sick. Now, life in the salt marsh does require a balancing act on the part of these birds, because when they place their nests in the marsh grass, they can't place it too low or they might get flooded during the high tide, and they can't place it too high or they might get seen by predators. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Minute Monday. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you, Corina, for all those cool facts about the seaside sparrow. That's really awesome. Thank you for giving us your time and hanging out with us.
Do anything for the count. They do anything for the count. Do anything for the count. They do anything for the count.
Look, whole lot of people need to hear this. It's a lot of birds on my life list. Mockingbirds say what they want to. Albatross taking care of big dick. I should write a whole blog at this rate. Use Mandarin ducks for clickbait. Team Fish always wanna start big beefs, but we not even playing in the same game. They know birders to bomb, they taking this off. Look at this grapes for watching the hawks. I know that mean they just not exposed, but somebody just gotta show them it's dope. So wherever they trained or out in the wild, I'm hearing the birds, I'm writing them down. Tan pronto que aves quiere cantar, they singing like Destiny Child. Everybody wanna see tits, everybody wanna see chicks, everybody wanna be this. If I was you, I start my list, follow my lead and catch my drift. Reflections, I'm calling them out. Windows is killing, too many to count. If you're not a birder, then you gotta bounce. I got the bins, come get them now. We do anything for the count, do anything for the count. They flying north, they flying west, birds flying south. Seeing me win, it gotta hurt. Ouch, I'm seeing them all, and you trying to stop me? No, not from the couch.
Do anything for the count. They do anything for the count. Do anything for the count. They do anything for the count.